Thank you very much for invitation, and it was a really difficult task. Why? Because yesterday we had really wonderful speakers, and today also part of those facts about which I tried to analyze from historical point of view. I maybe miss this material. I'm very grateful for such a chance to participate in this conference, and I won't stop on the historical aspects about which our respected speaker Cynthia Nelson mentioned yesterday. So let's move closer to the reality and ecocide here in Ukraine. Up to nowadays, so more than 2,000 and 500 crimes of Russian ecological crimes of Russian occupiers have been fixed in our motherland in Ukraine. Ecologists say this war has devastating consequences for the environment that can already be felt, as well as having untold effects still yet to be discovered. The Ukrainian government estimates the cost of ecological losses over the past year at least $441 billion, and that Russia should pay for about $51 billion in reparations. The current war is an unprecedented case of damage of Ukrainian environment, the worst conflict that Europe has seen since the Second World War. For the period about 19 months, the Russian army has mercilessly shelled Ukrainian territories, and as a result, poisoned the lands with dangerous chemicals, reduced biodiversity, and disrupted entire ecosystems. The Oskil reservoir, located on the outskirts of the village of Oskil in Ukrainian eastern Kharkiv region, is the 10th largest in Ukraine by area and volume. In October 1922, the dam was partially blown up by Russians fleeing the advance of the armed forces of Ukraine. Water from the Oskil reservoir was supplied to the residents of Donetsk and partly of Luhansk. Blowing up the reservoir left some of the population without water, further worsening the humanitarian disaster. After it was hit by a Russian missile, the reservoir was almost completely depleted, losing 76% stored water. The inspection report also found that the reservoir's source ecosystem was damaged, causing harm to several species of fish and other wildlife. Experts familiar with Ukrainian environmental protection efforts say the destruction of the Oskil reservoir is one of the most significant examples of the Russia-Ukraine's war impacts on the environment. Mass deaths of dolphins in the Black Sea this year. Scientists from the Black Sea countries recorded increased deaths. Dead dolphins were also found in Ukraine, including in the Tuzla lagoons, the largest national park in Europe, located in the south of Ukraine, in the Odessa region. Scientists attribute the abnormal number of dolphin deaths to the presence of Russian warships in the water area, which use sonars that emit powerful signals. These powerful and low-frequency signals affect the dolphins in air, which dolphins used to be able to navigate effectively, leaving the animals blind. Losing their acoustic senses renders dolphins unable to find their way around their environment and find food, and many eventually dying of starvation. The immunity of stressed dolphins weakened by sonar sharply decreases, which leads to more dolphins dying from infections. Oil spills can also have a devastating effect. According to Ukraine's Ministry of the Environment, 11,000 tons of oil products were spilled into the sea during the past year of the war. Ivan Rusev, a scientist at Tuzla National Nature Park, estimates the number of dead dolphins at 50,000. Other marine scientists say the exact number will be known only after the accounting of dolphins in the water area, which is currently controlled by Russia. About Kakhovka Dam, some speakers mentioned, I won't stop at this awful thing, but we have to add for all of those awful things about which our speakers and mass media mentioned. An unfortunate collateral consequence of the war is the death of birds. Drained bare, the bottom of the Kakhovka reservoir is covered with birds. So far, environmentalists cannot conclusively determine the cause, but among the possibilities are heart attacks that can result when animals are frightened by the loud sounds from explosions. About biosphere, destruction of biosphere, also some of our speakers mentioned. We should mention that during the past year of the full-scale war, about 20% of Ukraine's nature reserves have been affected. Our speakers mentioned the catastrophic consequences in Kinburn Pit, and you know that occupiers made something like safari on Jarogach Island and Askania Nova. The shot Oleshkiv sands. The destruction of floodplains of the Dnipro Delta, nature reserves razed and burned. It is difficult to list all the events at one time. The war has had irreversible consequences on territories that are home to rare species of animals, birds, plants, fish, and insects. Olena Popova, Associate Professor of the Department of Botany, Plant Physiology and Horticulture of Odessa National University, has studied how everything is interconnected in nature, and the consequences of an event in one place can manifest themselves even thousands of kilometers away. The war has led to the physical destruction of plants and animals. as well as the territory's topography, mining, poisoning of the territory with chemical substances, and destruction of the objects of the Nature Reserve Fund. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Environment, about 600 species of animals and more than 880 species of plants are threatened with extinction due to the aggression of the Russian Federation. Destroyed water treatment facilities of Mariupol, Berdyansk, and other small towns of the Sea of Azov water area also in this list. In the spring of 2022, sewage treatment plants in Mariupol, Berdyansk, and other cities on the coast of the Sea of Azov were destroyed. This led to sanitary disasters due to the population's lack of clean water for domestic needs and drinking. In wartime conditions, the risk of outbreaks of acute intestinal infections always increases, causing an uptick in diseases like hepatitis A, cholera, shigellosis, and others. Valeria Shaginian had infectious diseases diagnostics and parasitic diseases of the State University Institute of Epidemiology and Infectious Diseases of the National Academy of Medical Sciences of Ukraine explains that water pollution results when instead of entering the sewers, sewage flows into rivers, mixes with groundwater, and eventually enters the sea. About total mining of territories, our respectful Professor Tatyana Chumachenko have just mentioned in her report, and we won't stop on this point. We just add something about one terrible consequence. The destruction of the most fertile Chernozyms, black soil deposits that are rich in minerals and highly fertile of southern and eastern Ukraine. It is not the pollution of the grounds and Chernozyms that is evil, but their mixing with clay and whatnot. Future generations will have to deal with this problem. Ecologists conclude it is essential to talk about soil pollution. When agricultural areas are subjected to shelling, the toxic explosive chemicals can remain in the soil and contaminate plants and groundwater for a long time. Foods grown on war-torn land can be unsafe to eat. And the only certain way to avoid the danger is to remove the land from agricultural use. Barbaric resource extraction. Worst effects are most painful in the short term, but the totality of its consequences can take years to fully grasp. Scientists say that the effects of the current war must be analyzed comprehensively now in order to understand how current events will affect the future. Specialists drew attention to the demand for steel, copper, tin, and oil products spurred by the war, and predict a worldwide wave of barbaric mining in the next 10 years, which will have an uncountable effect on ecosystems worldwide. About forest burning, also some of speakers mentioned, and here we should say that the burning of man-made and natural forests in the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kharkiv regions will make these areas already scarce in water resources even more vulnerable to climate change. Moreover, there will be trouble with the water balance. About that, some speakers also have mentioned. Physical destruction of cities. We had a wonderful report today about Urbicide. It is very difficult to see all these wounds when we go to the center of our city. I still stay in Kharkiv. The whole war I spent here, and without tears we can't see these things. I mean, Kharkiv, Saltovka, industrial district, and Holodnagora. Ukraine will also need a lot of resources for reconstruction. The physical destruction of entire cities, Mariupol, Irpin, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, cities and towns in the Kharkiv and Donetsk region, firstly creates a huge amount of waste and requires bringing in even more natural resources to rebuild them. And exactly destruction of science, very painful point. One cannot underestimate the consequences of the destruction of science itself. This includes killing of specialists and the impossibility and deterioration of conditions for scientific research. The full-scale war disrupted the work of many researchers and research institutions. In June of 2022, more than 70% of Ukrainian scientists had to suspend their work and research due to problems with the supply of water and electricity, destroyed laboratories, forced evacuation. Ecologists, conservationists, and eco-activists were either killed or left the now occupied territories of the East and South. And they, I think, I will be pessimistic, won't return. This is a tragedy. Thank you for your attention.